Hello students, this is Mr. Damiani, and it's great to get back and create some videos after our state testing is done. So thanks for joining us for this lesson on 12.1, which is located on page 649 in the student workbook. The topic for today's lesson is recognize statistical questions. So we're going to be working with creating statistical questions. Chapter 12 is going to really be based on a lot of data and statistics. With it measures of center and variability, that type of stuff. So we're going to begin by looking at some statistical questions based on data. The central question is, how do you identify a statistical question? So please follow along as we look at some of the key vocabulary for the video lesson here. If you measure the heights of your classmates, you are collecting data. A set of data is a set of information collected about people or things. Okay, a question that asks about a set of data that can vary, underline that here, is called a statistical question. Key being the answers or the data must vary. So we're going to give you a little scenario here to help focus on this statistical question and just being able to identify what is a statistical question or not. So here we go. What are the heights of my classmates on July 1st is a statistical question because height usually varies in a group of people. So if you were to ask, your classmates here what their heights were, usually you're going to get a variety of different heights within the room, some taller, some shorter, and so on and so forth. So the answers to that question would vary, so that would make it a statistical question. What is Sasha's height on July 1st is not a statistical question because it asks for only one piece of information. Sasha's only going to be so tall on July 1st. That's not going to vary. So you're going to have one answer, one number for that question. So that makes it not a statistical question. So that's really what we're going to be exploring within this lesson for 12.1 is determining what is a statistical question. We'll be writing some statistical questions and looking at some information for statistical questions. That's a tongue twister if you say it real fast. All right, unlock the problem here. The New England Aquarium in Boston is home to over 80 penguins. And I actually went there last winter. That's a great aquarium to visit, and they have quite the penguin population. Which of the following is a statistical question a biologist could ask about the penguins? All right, so we're underlining what we're trying to do here, and we're trying to determine which of the following is a statistical question, and we'll have to really explain some of our reasoning here. Let's look at question A. Question A says, how much does the penguin named Pip weigh this morning? So think about it. Is there one answer to that or multiple answers for that? Part B here. How much does the penguin named Pip weigh each morning on 30 different days? So for question A here, we're focused on just one morning. Question B, we're focused on 30 different mornings. Let's brainstorm and then we'll come up with our reasoning as to what the statistical question is. Question A asks for Pip's weight at one time. Okay, so it does not ask about a set of data that varies. Question A is not a statistical question. All right, and that's just because you're going to get one weight. Maybe Pip weighs, 4 pounds on that morning. One number, one answer, not a statistical question. Question B asks for Pip's weight at 30 times. And it is likely that Pip's weight will vary or change during this period. Question B asks about a set of data that can vary, so it is a statistical question, all right? Because of this right here, if it's a statistical question, that data set will vary, all right? If it is not, then that means the data set does not vary. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. Just going to extend my page here. Okay, please follow along as I read. Another biologist asks how old the penguin named Royal Pudding is. Is this a statistical question? Explain your reasoning. Okay, so think about that for a second. If we get one age for royal pudding, is that a data set that would vary? And the answer here is no, because you're only going to get one age. All right, so we're going to go ahead and write that in here. The penguin, remember, if we write too fast, feel free to pause that video. The penguin has only one age at a time. So the question does not ask about a set of data that varies. The question does not ask about a set of data that varies. Whew, definitely probably had to pause that one. All right, so if the data set would vary, or the numbers that you could get for an answer vary, then it is a statistical question. If it does not vary and you only get one answer for that question, or it focuses on one specific moment in time, it is not a statistical question. All right, so let's go ahead and turn the page. We're going to look at page 650 here. And we're going to work through, looking at a specific situation, answer a few questions, and then we'll wrap up the video lesson. Please follow along while I read up in here. A statistical question can ask about an entire set of data that can vary, or a value that describes that set of data. All right, so we're going to highlight something in here. So a statistical question can ask about an entire set of data that can vary, or a value that describes the set of data. For example, what is the height of the tallest person in my class? This is a statistical question because it will tell you the greatest value in a set of data that can vary. So, what is the height of the tallest person in my class means I would have had to have collected the data set of multiple heights in order to determine this. All right, so that is one way to describe a data set. All right, and we'll learn other ways to describe data sets in the future for chapter 12. Let's go ahead and look down at our example here. Please follow along as I read. We'll fill in some values here. We'll continue to develop this concept. Bongos are a kind of antelope that live in Central Africa. Bongos are unusual because both males and females have horns. Write two statistical questions a biologist could ask about a group of bongos. All right, so number one. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the blanks here to form these questions. So what is the length in inches of the horns on the bongo that has the longest horns in the group? Okay, so this would be a statistical question because we are looking for the length of the longest horns within the group, which means we would have to measure all the horns within the group, so we're collecting data. Different bongos will have different horn lengths. This question asks about a value in a set of data that can vary. So it is a statistical question. So we wanted the longest horn in the group. That means we would have to measure all the horns. So that would be the data that can vary. All right, let's look at the second question here. What is the weight of the smallest bongo in the group? All right, so in order for this to be a statistical question, this means we would have weighed all of the bongos within the group, so therefore collecting data that would vary. Different bongos will have different weights. This question asks about a value in a set of data that can vary. So it is a statistical question. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll down to the try this here. Let's read our directions and then I'll let you know what we're going to do. Write a statistical question you can ask in the situations described below. Okay, so question or situation A. A researcher knows the amount of electricity used in 20 different homes on Monday. What I would like you to do is go ahead and pause the video here for a few seconds, write a statistical question, restart, and then I'll give you one and we can talk about some other possibilities here. Okay? Thank you. All right, go ahead and I've placed my question up in here. So basically, you could have asked any question that would have referenced the data that was collected, because there would be a different amount of electricity used in the 20 different homes. So that's your data set. The question I asked was how much electricity was used in the house that uses the most electricity. So straightforward. You could have also asked how much electricity was used in the house that uses the least amount of electricity as well. And your question could have been a little bit different than mine, but it had to have referenced the data set. All right, I'd like you to go ahead and pause the video again, read the situation for part B, and write your question. Thank you. All right, thanks for pausing the video. I've placed a question up here that I thought would have been a relevant statistical question. How many students are in the smallest tour group? So in order to know that, you would have had to have kept track of each tour group that visited over the week. You could have also asked a question about, what was the largest number of students per tour group as well. All right, so what we've done here is we've provided some background on what it is to write a statistical question and what those statistical questions mean, and how to determine if they are statistical questions. So what I would like you to do now is we're going to be done with the video, and I want you to focus now on the WSQ. So think about, how did you actually watch the video? Did you participate actively? Were you fit while you watched that video? Or were you a little bit distracted? Now what you're going to do is move on to the summary piece, focusing on key ideas from the video lesson, 4 to 5 plus sentences, hitting that summary, and be ready to share that summary with your classmates. Always remember to create a hot question here. Your hot question is going to come from your flip book, and it's going to be focused on, is there something that you feel like you need help on from the video that you think your group would be able to help you on? Or did you really understand what a statistical question is, and can you challenge your group with a question? So refer to that flip chart to help. Make sure you really take your time creating that summary and generating that question, and be ready for your group conversation tomorrow in class. So thanks for taking the time to watch the video, and I hope you all have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow in school. Goodbye.